Hi, I'm Monica. Welcome to Flexible Perspective. So I'm really excited because my sister, Dr. Rhonda Lee, is here with me today, and we're just gonna have a chat together. Um, the first thing I want to talk about is my last video. I talk about being triggered by color, and one thing I didn't really cover is African Americans being triggered by color. We also can be triggered by color. Um, so, Rhonda, has that happened to you? Does that ever happen to you? Can you think of any examples?
Yes, most definitely. Growing up as a young child, there were incidences where I was spoken to, I guess not in a nice way. I've heard some terms used such as red bone or vanilla, banana, I don't know. But some of these terms were sometimes derogatory, and so this triggered me. And most definitely, I remember when I entered college, and there were some students that saw a picture of my family, specifically my sister and myself, and they wanted to know if my sister and I were half sisters. I had no idea what half sisters meant. I was confused because that wasn't something that when I grew up that was acknowledged or that I paid attention to as far as the difference in my sister and myself and our color. So it was very confusing, but that was in college the first time.
Okay, that's interesting. That was a lot because first I want to, okay, let's go there. So I was talking about being triggered by color if you see a person of European descent, but this is important to us as well. So my sister's talking about being triggered by color within the Black race. So that's a whole nother thing. So yes, my sister and I, different shades of brown. My mom and my grandmother are more the shade of my sister, and my father and I are more, in our family, dark skin. That's how we refer to it. And so, wow. So one thing my sister said that I thought was interesting, and I know, wait, first I want to make sure we have the same mother and father, because you said it wasn't acknowledged, but you were talking about no, from your perspective, no one talked about us having
Difference in complexion. It wasn't mentioned.
Okay.
That's my perspective, absolutely.
Okay. So, yeah. I heard that all the time.
You heard what I was
Not from our parents. But yeah, that was often referred to, the fact that we were different colors, like literal different colors.
That's interesting.
Yes, and I can remember, so one way it was referred to is people, so I look like my mother, except for coloring. And my sister looks like my father, except for coloring. But people, when they would meet us, so my sister's a lot younger, so maybe that has something to do with it. She was, but, so people would say, oh, look, you have one that looks like Richard, that's our father, and one that looks like you, referring to my mother and my sister. And again, that wasn't true, but I knew what they meant. And it's interesting you brought it up, because that really is triggered by color, right? Because what they're thinking is just at a glance, because I have the same coloring as my dad, oh, I must look like him. And she has the same coloring as my mom, so oh, she must look like her. And wow, okay, so let's
and
go
at
there.
that time, I, as she said, I was younger, so I didn't quite understand as far as who looked like who and the coloring. But yes, I can see how that's significant as far as I look. My facial features look exactly like my father, even though he is darker skinned than I am. So that's interesting. It's something I didn't pick up as a child, pick up on. My parents were very good, I feel, as far as saying that we were both beautiful and we were both the same, and those are the experiences that I had during that time growing up. Never ever remembering any, even outside of our family, people saying anything about color.
Okay, I'm sorry. No. And this is why it's called flexible perspective. Because, I mean, and you know what? This happens in between the races, right? One group has one experience, and the other group is like, no, what? And so, I'm not going to invalidate what my sister is saying, because one thing I know about her, she is honest. She is. She's not going to make this up. And so I can't invalidate her experience, and she's not going to seek to invalidate my experience. So I did not have any like traumatic experiences, and I will give my mother credit for that, because she often went out of her way, like if I would say, or because I would pick it up, light skin, dark skin, she would say, what are you talking about? And she would act as though she didn't know what I was talking about until I described the person another way. So until this day, for the most part, I will describe a person, the blue and white shirt. I won't necessarily, generally speaking, talk about whether they're dark or light. Again, I think of myself as dark skinned. I think of my sister as light skinned, but it's not something that I dwell on or we talk about or anything. So also you said that people asked you if we were full-blooded sisters or whatever. Well, I think it's funny that you say that, because it's just weird. Okay, I'm going to take a big leap here. But science, we know how genetics works. I mean, you can have a child who has red hair and one who doesn't. You can have one who's lighter skinned than the other. You can have one with blue eyes and brown eyes, or two brown eyes and green, whatever. But it's just funny to me, not in a humorous way, but in a sad way, that people just, again, were triggered by color and would think we weren't related just based on our color. And that makes me think about Maury Povich show. There used to be people that would come on the show, and not that I watched it a lot, but they would say, no, that's not my baby, because no one in my family has that shading, or things like that. And I used to think, wow, how crazy is that? But maybe I shouldn't mention that.
Interesting. And just to mention also about the colorism, I feel as if just during my life, people that I've met in the Black community, they seem to have this impression that because I am a lighter skin color, that I am treated differently by Caucasian people or people outside of our race. And that is absolutely not true. As a matter of fact, I have a couple of friends who are Caucasian who have mentioned, wow, I've heard some Black people say something about light skin or dark skin. What is all that about?
Do you think and this is funny, we don't talk about this, so it's weird. But anyway, do you think that when your hair was straight and long, do you think maybe then you were treated a little bit differently before your hair was...
From Caucasian people? Possibly.
Okay.
I will say that. And because it was a long time ago, a few years back. But possibly there is a slight difference between my hair being natural and when it's straight.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. So,
but as far as I think some of the African Americans may think that oh my gosh, she's going to get everything she wants and she's going to get the best job, or, that's not true, even with the straight hair.
Okay, but what do you say, since we're going there, what do you say that on the scale, not on the scale of comparing you to Caucasian people, but on the scale of Black women, do you think that, I'm not saying it's a big jump, but do you think there is, I don't know the word, I hate to even use preferential treatment, because I'm not even saying that much, but a little something, a little boost, a little...
And so when we mentioned the straighter hair versus the curly or natural hair, The difference, I'm not, and again, I explained that wouldn't mean a better job or more money. It would just mean when I went into a store, I would blend in. I wouldn't be signaled out where when I have natural hair, automatically the person's kind of looking at me, looking me up and down, waiting for me to speak to see where I'm coming from. Where yes, I would blend in more with the straighter hair.
Okay. And okay. So you're saying, okay, I'm just gonna go there. What about with black men?
Mm-hmm.
I don't, we're old, like she said, so I don't know if it's this way now, but in the
Mm-hmm.
past, very much so. And let's be honest, our Father, who loves us both, but even our Father has a preference for lighter skinned women. I mean, he doesn't date anyone or anyone. He's married to our mother.
He's been married to the same woman for 57 years.
So would you say that in general, that you've heard that black men, and it's a little different now because there's more interracial and all that, but black men generally have preferred lighter skinned women, would you say?
So you're right when you mentioned that we are older. I would possibly say when we were in our 20s and 30s, possibly then, but after the younger generation, anyone probably 38 and under, I don't believe that that's the case with that group of people. And even now with the men that are older, most of them are married that are my age, so I wouldn't know. But I think, yes, when I was younger, that may have been the case.
And
with black men.
Yes. Okay. So we agree that at least when we were younger, the standard of beauty within the black community, and I think it's still that way, but okay, was that light-skinned women are more attractive than dark-skinned women. Okay. In general. Okay. Right? We agree on that one.
So I'm not necessarily that I believe that light-skinned women were more attractive. I think this
perception.
The perception was that, first of all, Caucasian white women, when we were growing up, were, that was the epitome of beauty. So then, therefore, some of the traits that may be closer to that, for instance, straighter hair, like a Caucasian woman, or maybe a little bit lighter skin, yes, would be considered optimal, I suppose.
Yes, and perception-wise, and
for the black community.
Yes, and here's a thought that just came to me when you were saying that. So my original premise a couple of videos ago was that the study of slavery would just open our eyes about a lot of things that happen today. And it occurs to me that, of course, women are beautiful. There are many different women who look many different ways who are beautiful. Okay. And white, any ethnicity, dark, whatever. Okay. But as my sister said, the standard of beauty is European women across the entire world. Well, as my sister and I sit here, I was thinking about the fact that my sister, now it's summertime, she's actually tanned, but I was thinking about the fact that we don't know of anyone in our family who is not African American, correct?
We do not.
And here my sister sits, and my mother and my grandmother, and it's quite obvious that there's somewhere someone who came along who was not of African descent, correct? And,
I would assume that.
And so that, again, is the triggered by color thing, because I suspect that whomever it was who is in our bloodline did not, frankly, take our great-great-great-grandmother out to a movie and buy her ice cream soda, right? The pigmentation, I'm sorry I'm stumbling, but the pigmentation, lighter pigmentation, is probably the result of some violence. And yet, we put that on a pedestal.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so, again, there's so much for us to unpack as people, Americans. And I say again that we can heal if we talk about these things and try and make sense of these things. So, there are women of every hue who are beautiful, and there can't be one standard of beauty, right? We have to expand our repertoire, our catalog to let in different types of beauty.
On a positive note, I do feel as if the generation, the younger people coming up, they seem to be embracing that, and just different women of color and complexions and ethnic backgrounds. We're embracing the beauty of all of these. I feel the newer generation coming up, they're embracing all cultures and looks. That's my impression.
Yeah, I disagree. TV, what's portrayed in the media, still, by and large, unless it's a story about the first black woman who did something, or a slave, frankly, if it's just a woman who is an attorney who works every day and is funny, I don't think there is such a TV show, but it tends to be a woman who has a certain look. It seems to me it's usually someone who is biracial or looks close to biracial. Do you think?
Okay. So I don't watch TV very often, but I do feel as if the movies, Netflix, and maybe on the screen, they have the same few actresses, the same few black actresses. But in the media, as far as commercials, selling items, there seems to be a wider range to me of African Americans, complexions, looks, cultures, but that's to sell items. But still, I feel as if they are, and again, that's to gain, they want to sell their product. So I feel as of lately, the last year or so, there's a variety of cultures and looks when selling items.
I feel like I see lots of women of ambiguous background, and very few women who are as darker or darker than I am. Certainly not women like with hair that I have or whatever. But anyway, let's let go of that, because there's one more thing that has come to me. Do you think that whenever you see the angry black woman on television or in the movies, that she's always as dark as I am or darker? Do you ever see the lighter skinned or biracial black woman as angry woman?
So just the few movies that I have watched on Netflix, there are a few African American actors as the main characters on these movies. I feel as if, in general, again, my perspective, I feel as in general, all of the black women are portrayed as that.
So, do you think that you are an angry black woman?
No.
Okay. Ask me.
Do you think that you are an angry black woman?
Yes. And this is what I mean by that. So, in general, I'm not, I'm a kind of cheerful person or whatever. But I think to be a black woman, you're gonna be angry. As a matter of fact, I have this saying: what came first, like the chicken or the egg thing? Being black, a black woman, and then you got angry, or you just came here angry and then you're a black woman? Whatever. The point is, being a black woman, you're gonna be angry because you are just often, and I'm not gonna whine, I'm not whining, it is what it is, but you often have to put up with a lot of innuendo and condescension and dismissiveness, and the list goes on, and it makes you tired. It makes you tired.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
And I know you've experienced that. So I mean, so are you sure you would say you're not an angry black woman?
That's something to think about as far as the term angry black woman, it just has such a bad connotation that I shy away from that. But yes,
I think about if I get pulled over or whatever, and I'm on the news, you know, if they show my picture triggered by color, I know, the people that know me, of course, that's different, but I know that the world would look and do what they usually do when they're triggered by color and go, of course, I'm sure it's her fault. Why didn't she roll down the window? Why was she out of her house on a Wednesday? Why? Because I just look like every woman. You know, I don't dress.
There's a difference if you're a Caucasian woman just running out
Yes.
versus
Yes.
an African American. There truly is a difference.
Yes. And so.
And that can get tiring. It's a lot.
Yes.
That wears on you.
Yes. So, I know we've been talking a while. Thank you, Rhonda. This was fun.
It's great. Thank you for having me.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, we're not that formal in real life. But anyway. Okay, so we'll do it again, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Please subscribe to my channel. Please give us your comments. Let us know what you think. If you agree, disagree, whatever. We want to know what you think. So thank you for watching, and hope to see you next time.
Thank you.